Yeah, driver Gravediggers here. Yeah, how are you, man?
Good. How are you?
How many years have you been doing that?
So I've been driving Gravedigger for about 8 years. I
Okay.
started 9 years ago in Monster Jam. Drove a truck called Blue Thunder, and then at the end of the season, they called me and they're like, "Hey, you're driving Gravedigger next year." I was
Got a
like, "All
promotion?
right, hey, that's awesome."
I was gonna say because the previous driver was Anderson, right?
Yeah, so they still drive.
Okay.
There's actually 5 Monster Jam tours that run.
I have heard about that.
in the domestic states, pretty much every weekend, January through May, and then with one overseas as well.
Really?
Kind of in the midst, hit or miss. Not every weekend with that tour, but
You ever done overseas?
So yeah, I've done a couple times.
Oh, really?
Finland, Holland, Mexico.
Are the stadiums bigger, smaller?
It just kind of depends. Like some of them are soccer stadiums. Like when you go to like Australia and all the other ones like that, like the bigger soccer places, they do get quite a bit bigger. But I haven't done any of those.
You kind of got stuck with the small one.
Yeah, I wouldn't say small. Like this one here, this weekend in Anaheim's pretty good size.
Well,
so.
Anaheim, yeah.
Yeah.
Anaheim's awesome. I've been there a couple times, maybe like 4 times or so now. Yeah, my partnership manager, Chris Mady, he's helped us out with some of his tie-ins with Monster Jam over the years, and so we got some pretty good seats. Got to see you out there. It was probably you because it was recently when we went.
Nice.
I think it was like 2 years ago, right? Yeah, I've always thought, Monster Jam was awesome. Obviously, like, who doesn't love looking at monster trucks, right? As a little kid and even as an adult. It's funny because, like, the first time I remember telling someone, like, "Oh, I'm going to, Monster Jam this weekend." Like, really? Like, I gave me a look. I'm like, yeah, like, have you ever been? It's, it's a lot of horsepower. It's fun. It's exciting, and there's a competition aspect and there's like the freestyle aspect. Like there's a lot of commonalities with other forms of racing. It's not just driving over cars. There's definitely a lot of talent that goes into it too, especially nowadays. With how advanced the trucks are getting. Would love to kind of hear a little more about that because, me trying to explain what goes into a monster truck is not going to get very far. Right. It's like, big tires, big motor. I know that it's, you got at least the most of them, right? It's like a center drive. You're very elevated, and you're trying to like look kind of down through the body at times too because it's very limited visibility through the windows. And so, what's it like? Like, how'd you get into this?
So I just grew up. My dad built me an off-road truck when I was like 6 years old, and then just kind of recreationally was an off-roader, through high school and stuff, and just kind of did like local fair competitions and whatnot. But my dad would always help out at the local Monster Jam when he would come to town.
Cool.
Like there were like a club association, just kind of hired to put up the banners, sweep the floors, kind of deal, and started going and met Adam Anderson, which is the oldest son of Dennis Anderson.
Okay.
About when I was probably 15 years old.
Okay.
So he actually hired me for a summer to go out to Digger's Dungeon in North Carolina while I was still in high school. Okay. My dad dropped me off in the summer and left me at Ryan's house.
So wasn't that was that the only shop outside of the organization that was building their own truck? Like, what was it about Digger's Dungeon?
Yeah, so that's basically
special?
just like where Dennis created Gravedigger.
Yeah. Essentially,
right?
Yeah.
And then when Monster Jam came along and started building trucks, that's one of the stops where we could go here during the week and work on the trucks, and we don't have to pay somebody to show up in their shop, and just kind of like a nice spot other than their home base shop in Florida. So
got it.
But I went out there for 8 hours a day for a couple summers and drove a ride truck. So just giving people rides in a monster truck, and
cool.
That's kind of how I got my start, basically, is through him.
How do you give a ride in a monster truck? The seats in it?
Yeah, so it's an Econoline van with like a big block and big tires. So not the same horsepower, but it's got the same axles, same tires.
Kind of like our demo cars.
Yeah,
it's some extra seats.
It's just like a demo, very, very kind of laid down. Mm-hmm. You're not getting any air or anything, but yeah, I mean, it had a rear steer just like the race trucks did. So I think like when I got my chance to get behind the wheel of a race truck, it was more natural to do that. Just knowing the motions of the rear steer and the timing and everything like that. Mm-hmm. So, because I think that's when you first drive a monster truck, that's like half the battle is learning that the rear tires turn as well.
Yeah, I've never driven anything with rear steer.
No?
Yeah. I mean, outside of a Nissan 240, they come with it stock.
Yeah.
But yeah, nothing like that where you got the lever and you're kind of like steering the rear around. But I've seen like I said, I've seen some of the main shows, the Monster Jam shows. I've seen like some like little practice events and like facilities of like guys working on their tricks. Like, how often do you get to drive a monster truck outside of like a Monster Jam competition weekend?
Yeah, so like no matter if you're on an arena series, so like a hockey arena, basketball, like the arena tour series, right? There's smaller space, or you're on a stadium series. Every week, no matter what, you're going to practice one round of racing, and that's about it. Wow. So, and honestly, like the dirt's never prepped the same on Friday, or if you have one that night, maybe in an arena it's about the same. But like stadium, they're not out there grooming the track, watering it like they will be on Saturday. So it's like, I'm basically just shaking the truck down to make sure that nothing's broke from last week, because the last time the truck ran, it's more than likely destroyed.
Yeah.
So just making sure that everything's good to go, and like this weekend we're actually running a new track compared to what we have been. So I might, you can probably request a couple other more passes than just one. They'll allow that, but usually I just do one and done. But I'm kind of on a racing streak right now, so I want to keep it going.
Okay,
I
cool.
might take more than one practice pass tomorrow.
So you're saying, so you'll get to run it like once a week?
Yeah.
You're saying once a week of a competition. You guys aren't racing every weekend, right?
Yeah, we are pretty
You
much.
are?
Yeah. From January to I think May, like the middle to the end of May, it's pretty much, I think I have 1 week off.
Wow.
So last year I did 33 weeks.
Jeez. Okay.
So
that's a lot more than us.
It's pretty busy.
We'll do up to 20, 25 events in a year. And our events are multi-day, kind of like yours. But our season is from April till October. That's our main season. It kind of bleeds into March as prep and practice, maybe an appearance type event. And then November is SEMA. We do ride-alongs and such there. So we only really have 2 months that we're basically home in the shop where we're doing our rebuilds, as we were just showing you. We got car torn down to the chassis, which is cool timing because you guys actually get to see the multiple different stages. We have some of our drift cars are fully together. One is just a roller. One is being dismantled. So we get to see all the different layers that go into it. And so basically we'll have that thing back together next month, going into February, and then we'll start testing into February into March, and then our first round is Long Beach over at the Grand Prix.
Nice.
So, and then from there the car just basically hits the road. So kind of similar to monster trucks, where it just loads up and heads out and doesn't really make it back to home base until the end of the season, right? Is similar to that?
Yeah. So like past couple years, my truck probably leaves in January, and it may go back to the shop twice before December.
Wow.
And it just depends on the routing and where my truck has to go per weekend and that kind of stuff. But usually it's working on the road or.
Well, you said December, but you said your season was January till May.
Yeah, so January to May is it's going to be
busy season.
It's going to be every weekend pretty much.
And then where do you go from there?
World Finals happens, and it's kind of floats from May to July, somewhere in there every year, and that's our Super Bowl. So that's World Championships, all that crazy stuff. Biggest event of the year.
Where does that take place?
At Salt Lake City for this year, and then usually it's going to change every year now.
Okay.
So, but then after that, it's just kind of the summer shows, and it's not. They still matter. They're still big events, but it's just not as you're not on a point series. You're not competing for a spot in World Finals, a bid. But I'm competitive. I don't want to lose no matter what, right? So it could be after World Finals and I still want to win. But it kind of tapers off a little bit. I think last year after World Finals I had 15 weeks. Wow.
So World Finals, you say there's multiple tours going on, right?
Yeah.
So there are multiple Gravediggers running around too?
There is, yeah. There'll be 5 Gravediggers running.
So then how do you determine who gets to go based on points?
I don't know. No. So World Finals is what you said. Yeah. So if you win your point series, it's automatic in. No questions asked. Doesn't matter what truck you drive, who you are, you're in.
Okay.
And then basically they just kind of pick who else gets to go. There's been times where I have not won my point series and still made the win somehow. So I'm not sure what their rhyme or reason is behind picking everybody, but I think just trying to make it the most entertaining thing possible.
Of course. Yeah, get a nice widespread. Of course, the winners go, but then trying to get some more of the eccentric cars out there. I've seen some of them. Some of the bodies are hilarious out there.
Oh yeah.
And so Gravedigger was one of the first ones that really had a solid identity to it outside of Bigfoot, right? But Bigfoot was still an F-150, right? Where this was all right, we're taking old hot rod and we're putting a theme to it, and it was one of the first real standouts, right?
Right. Yeah.
And so going into the series and what it takes to run in a weekend, how long are you in the truck? I know you guys will do what, two main nights, right, in a weekend?
Yeah, so honestly I bet the truck runs for less than 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Total run time during an event it's pretty low. So you'll do a racing competition, bracket style, 12 trucks. If you win, you're racing 4 rounds, I think, 3 to 4 rounds. Then we do 2-wheel skills, so just 2 hits to do your best maneuver, whether on the front wheels, you can do the side, bicycle the sides, wheelies, all that stuff, and then a 2-minute freestyle, which maybe the truck will make it the whole 2 minutes. Maybe
Yeah,
it won't.
hopefully.
Who knows?
Hopefully it keeps laying on the
Yeah,
tires.
yeah.
But what was I gonna say? So yeah, so less than 10 minutes, 4 rounds to win. Like yeah, it's very comparable to drifting. We do a top 32 bracket, and you know that's based on the points from the previous round. It kind of gets shuffled. It's randomized. We used to have a qualifying system where everybody gets a single run, and then you go out and you put down your best run. You get your score, and then 0 to 100, and that is how the bracket is built. But now it's a little more randomized, so you actually have, like right in the first round, you'll sometimes have like champions going up against each other when they normally wouldn't see each other till the finals. So it's been like a real big shakeup for us.
Yeah.
How do you guys populate that top 12?
So basically so that we have 12 trucks, right? So take Saturday night of this weekend in Anaheim. Our first pass, the first time you run, no matter, because there's a first round bye, and I'll explain that too, but your first run, no matter who you are, one of the 12 is your qualifying time for the next event. So your first race, you kind of want it to be good, because if you're top 4 fastest times, you get an automatic bye round.
Got it.
Like you're automatically in the second round.
16, yeah.
Okay. So you want to be in that top 4. You want to be one of the top fastest 4 basically every night.
Yeah,
That's always my goal. Like, yeah, it's like this point series is like 20 some weeks long. So like, yeah, you can go out and have an awesome night tonight, but like you got to be consistent for 20 weeks.
Yeah.
It's the hardest part really.
Yeah, so 20 weekends into a championship, that's a lot. We only have 8 for ours.
Really?
So yeah, so it's 8 competition weekends, and like I was saying, we will do, at best, you're doing like 30 laps in a weekend.
Really?
And the laps are about 30 seconds each, so yeah, it's like
So-
15 minutes max run time.
I'm curious about something because I apologize. I'm not.
Oh yeah, go
I
for
haven't
it.
really been schooled on drifting in my life, but like I watch the videos. Like, how is it scored? Is it like technique and how close you can get to the other person with like being in control?
So when it was qualifying, there was 2 different styles of the judging. There was qualifying judging, and then there was the tandem judging. The qualifying judging, it was single driver goes out and puts down his best lap. You get the car up onto the wall, which is like the easiest form of proximity, right? So there is a point of the line, the angle, and the overall style of the car, right? And so it can compare, and I'll get to that. So the line is essentially the racing line on the track that is deemed by the judges as where they want the car to be. So especially if there's an outer wall, they want that rear bumper up against the wall, like touching but not crushed into it, not 3 feet off of it, just like a nice graze is a perfect run. And then there will be inner parts of the track, right, like a rumble strip that they might want the front bumper to kind of graze over, so you're utilizing the entire track, right? And so it's not always a racing line as much as it's a drifting line, what they predetermine, because it's not the fastest way around the course, but it's shows the most control. Then there's the angle, which is just physically how much angle the car has while still carrying its momentum, right? Because if you throw too much angle, the car slows down, then you take angle back away to speed it back up.
Yeah.
So you have to have a nice consistent angle throughout the run. And then the overall style, you know how that is. You can watch one guy do a wheelie and another guy just, blast one, and you can tell who is doing it with more commitment, right? So it's very much the same in drifting, right? You can tell someone who's kind of like babying it through the course, and like he might get up to the wall, but he's not really in the pedal, and he's like kind of adjusting the car a lot, and he's not really committed to the run. So that is where what was the X factor, what was style, like they've kind of named it many different things to give you that extra kind of bonus outside of the physical placement of the car and the angle of the car. And we're having a big sale on shop.forsbergracing.com, so hop on there to grab our last pieces of merch before we line up our 2025 new gear, where you have a few keychains left, some more shirts, and we have a couple of these awesome Nismo hats left in stock, so make sure to head on over shop.forsbergracing.com to grab our last pieces. Now, going into tandem, our competitions now are tandem only. They don't do the single car qualifying. So the tandem competition is basically the lead car has to perform what would be that figurative qualifying run that I just explained. And so he is just out there doing his run as if there's nobody behind him. The chase car has to be as close as possible, maintaining proximity, maintaining angle. You don't want to be like this, you don't want to be like this, you have to be like as mirrored as you can, and following that car throughout the course, mimicking every run, or every corner I should say, and not impacting the lead car, like either physically or just being in front of him and kind of cutting him off, pushing him off track, things like that. Like, it's supposed to be as if, you know, he's driving as if the chase car is not there, and the chase driver is as close as possible without impacting his qualifying run. And then what happens is you actually switch. It's kind of like baseball where you both get a turn at bat, right? So it's 2 laps to make one battle. So that's where like some people don't exactly understand like how do you choose a winner. There's actually 2 laps that go into every battle. So you both take a turn at the lead and you both take a turn at the chase. And then they judge you comparatively how you did, you know, the lead versus the lead, and then the chase versus the chase.
Now, so like if you're, let's say you're the chaser, right, and the leader messes up, does that affect you?
Of course, yeah. And you rely on the judges to understand that the lead driver is the one that made the mistake, which made you hit him or straighten out or whatever. And you know, about 95% of the time they get it right. Of course, there's human error, but you know, and so it's competition. It's just like, you know, it's funny because so many people are like, I can't believe you drive in a Judge Motorsport. I mean, well, you also drive in a Judge Motorsport. Yeah. And but outside of that, like every sport is judged when you really think about it. You have referees, you know, you have you know, people that are making a visual decision on if he was safe, if he got knocked out, you know, and like so there's still always or even in like ultimate fighting or boxing, it will go down to the judges if they're both still standing. Yeah, exactly. Right? And so it's like, well, he hit him 92 times, he hit him 91, but better. And so there are a lot of sports, pretty much every sport on the planet has a judge in some capacity. Exactly. Right? And so they're making the decision if you were out of bounds, you know, like I said, you know, all these different capacities, if it was a foul, and that can completely turn, you know, the course of an event, right? If you win or lose, if you get that penalty kick or whatever, right? So, so yes, our sport is 100% judged. There is no timing aspect, whereas you guys kind of have both, which is cool. So I can see how some drivers would be better at one than the other. Yeah. Whereas for us, it's strictly just judge competition. And so I've actually been doing some road racing recently, which I really enjoy because it's such a change from drifting. It's you know, your effort and, you know, basically the different attempts that you will perform in a corner will result in, you know, more or less time, right? So if you go into a corner and you brake at this marker versus that, if you apply the throttle here versus there, as you exit, you will result a faster or slower time, and you actually get that very black and white you know, result, and it's kind of enjoyable. You gotta hit your marks. You gotta hit them perfect. Right? Yeah. So like I've been enjoying that. It's been like kind of reviving my like thrill of racing, right? Because like, you know, just doing one discipline over and over and over and over again can obviously get to be a little bit like feeling like work, right? Whereas like, you know, we've been introducing off-road, we've been now doing some off-road racing, doing some road racing, and it's just kind of like a little bit of breath of fresh air for everything across the board. Little mix up. Yeah, yeah, that's good.
I think it's crazy too, like how like most people don't understand, like, what you said, the laps are like 30 seconds, right? So, and then you swap the tandem for so a minute total. Like that's, you have to be on probably the whole time. Oh yeah. Everybody's probably like, oh, it's only 30 seconds a lap. It's like, well,
yeah, it's easy, but like
until you do it, I'm sure it's
going from 0 to on over and over throughout the course of the weekend is the most difficult part. Like the mental challenge of getting yourself into the zone without having like a warm up lap. You're not like pacing around and, you know, like get like your rolling start and have 50 laps to make up for a mistake you made on lap 1, right? It's, you make a mistake in turn 1, your run's over. Yeah. And so it's that's like the best and worst, if you will, part about drifting is you know, it's just that one mistake and you're done. And so when people are trying to understand what drifting is, they're like, well, like, explain to me how it works. Well, what happens in this scenario? What happens in that scenario? I'm like, if you just go and watch a competition, your first time ever seeing it, you will get about 75% of the judgment calls correct. You can watch 2 cars go around and be like, that guy did better than him, and you don't even need to be that educated. Right. It's when it comes down to you have 2 really good runs, and it's just like, ooh, like, I don't know how, you know, like how to break it down. It takes a trained eye to be like, well, he corrected, he kind of like missed this mark or transitioned late. That's where it gets into like the real like nitty gritty of the details to find a winner. However, they do have a one more time. If it's like close enough, they'll make you run again. Another pair of runs.
That probably sucks sometimes. Though.
It does,
because like you probably like you had a good run. Yeah. And to do it twice in a row is like
But every once in a while, you know, you get the one more time. You feel a little lucky, right? Yeah. You know, you made the mistake, and maybe he did too, and you didn't notice it. So it's like, oh, we're back down. So I got another shot. So it's interesting how it plays out, but then once again, like you get in that mental game, and the one more time mental game is very different than because like you're not getting out of the car, right? You just pull in, you throw tires on, you get back in line, you go. So there's only like a little short lull versus when you physically unbelt, the battle's over, you get that like 15, 20 minutes, around that, like with your team, you can kind of talk strategy and go back out there. So yeah, it's always a little different, right? Like our first battle of the day, right? Our first battle of the day from top 32 until 16 has been up to a 4-hour gap. And so yeah,
you're just like hot and cold, hot and cold.
So you have like a whole halftime, you're interacting with the fans, you're talking to the team, you're trying to have lunch. And then it's like, oh, okay, we gotta go racing again.
Yeah, it's like it's been a whole day. Chilled out for a little bit, and you're like trying to forget that
you're fully iced out. Yeah. And so then it's like you gotta switch it back on. And from there it goes like, top 16. Then it's like maybe a hour gap, 40 minutes or so, and then it's like a 20-minute gap, then a 10-minute gap, and then you're back in the finals. And so it obviously like condenses as the day goes on, as you would know.
Yeah.
So with like how quickly, I mean, from what I can remember, that 12 truck battle it goes by pretty quick.
Yeah, it's like 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So
you don't even get out, huh?
No, that's like the highest pressure of the event too, is like racing, because it's like there's no fan judging. Like people have their opinions on that, right? Like certain trucks win because they're popular or whatever. Yep. But
grave digger.
Yeah. I mean, it is what it is. But the racing I like the most because it's black and white, right?
Yeah.
There's a winner, there's a loser. There's penalty points. There's only one. You have to get both tires on the jump takeoff, so you can't hang a tire off the side.
Okay.
Like both tires have to take off the top of the
jump.
So
there's a judge in place.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
That's what I'm saying. There's always a judge.
Yeah.
It's and so yeah. Once again, I'm sure like you've smoked someone to the finish line, and someone comes up like, oh, you missed the mark.
No. So you can't really challenge it as another driver. Like it's basically the people.
Oh, I'm saying like you as the driver, you might think you won.
Right.
You get
most of the time if you hang a tire off, you're like, dang it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's pretty easy.
It's pretty easy.
Even though they're 4 feet wide, you know when you hang one off.
Yeah, you'll know because it'll jump way crooked probably. So. Yeah, but there's a little break up until the 2-wheel skills part of it. But I mean, a couple minutes, and then like if you win, you go last for 2-wheel skills. So like first loser goes first, second, all the way up to 12, right?
Got it.
So if you win, you're sitting there watching everybody, which I like to do. Like obviously, I like to win, but I do like to go later and watch what everybody else is doing, watching what like the dirt's doing, like watching what tricks are working and how they're getting scored. Like last week, I love to do like the bicycle and then like kick it up into a nose wheelie or do a sidewall donut. But the dirt just was not it, and like it was a risk to do it.
And you say the dirt wasn't as in like the buildup of it or the texture of it?
Just the texture. Like it was a super dry, tacky track, and they did an awesome job watering it for us for racing. That way, like you're making these hairpin corners, and it's not trying to roll over every single time, right? Yeah. But then it kind of screws us on the back end for the 2-wheel skills challenge. But I mean, I'm not going to complain either way. It was good for racing. So
on the do you have like the same approach every time for like say 2-wheel skill or the like the demo freestyle part, or is it change from track to track? Like how different are the tracks every time?
The track, so that'll be usually the same track. Like we're gonna swap back and forth between 2 different ones from now to May, but the layout's pretty much the same. The biggest thing that we're looking for, like when you're doing the tricks, is the dirt. Like how much grip does it have? How much give is it? Like if I want to pitch it in the corner really hard for racing, like am I gonna immediately hike up? Is it so gripped up that am I going to hike up on 2 wheels?
Gotcha.
But like it sucks for racing. Like it's more of a driver's track when it's tacky, right? Because you can't just throw it in the corner blindly and hold it wide open. Like, so it's good and it's bad. But then like for the skills competition, like grip is everything to get it to balance on certain points and then kick up or do whatever trick you want. But my plan is basically the same every time when it comes to that. Like I like to do the bicycles and I like to do 2 different variations of them, but
that's probably the most difficult one, right?
It is, yeah. It's like, and like, it's so lame too. Like, I hate it when I can like ride a bicycle and not get anything out of it. So like, if you just ride it for a long distance and then have to set it down, it's like, I feel like the crowd was waiting for more. You know, like, get it on the nose or
cool
like
move,
get it into like the sidewall donut. That's the hardest one. The bicycle to the moonwalk is like, it has to be the perfect angle
Yeah.
Like
So you don't end
geometry,
up on the roof,
suspension wise, like and you won't know until you feel it. Like the first time, you'd be like, okay, I know that feeling now. Now I got it. But
that's awesome. I remember, first time I saw, like a bicycle to the nose wheelie, I was like, they can do that with these trucks.
Isn't it? It's insane. I swear to God, these trucks will literally do anything. Like
so cool.
They defy physics every day almost.
Have you got to drive one outside of like an arena and or the what you call the Digger Den, right?
Digger's Dungeon? No.
Digger's Dungeon,
no.
yeah.
So basically everything I do working for Monster Jam is under their events.
Got it.
But
it's awesome. It's obviously always very enclosed, very safe. You guys have kill switches in them. Like it's a remote kill switch, right?
Yeah, so it's an RII, so remote ignition interrupter, and it's basically it's got 3 channels on it in the cab. So if you look at a monster truck, you'll see that it's got like a red and a yellow light in the windshield. So that's if they're both lit, it's in center lane and then right and left. So there's 3 different frequencies that you can shut the truck off on.
Oh wow!
So that, like if 2 trucks are running, you run one in left, one in right. They split the remotes half and half at that point, basically. And then if one gets like out of control or near the wall protection, it's clicked. So
how
very
does that
safe.
happen?
Quite often, really. Yeah, I mean, we're not. They put in new rules last year, so it's like you're not allowed to go around the boundary line. So a chalked line around the perimeter. They don't want you hitting the trucks. They don't want you hitting the dumpsters, which understandable.
Oh yeah.
There's a double edge. There's a double edge to that. Like part of me is like, man, like it was just a little tap to the tire of the other truck, but part of me is like, well, this is only going to make everybody else better as a driver. Like show everybody that we need to have more control than that. So I kind of agree with it.
Yeah, it's gotta just feel absolutely nuts driving something that big.
It is.
Like just going from like my Z into the Altima is like, oh my god, this is I'm like driving a boat, because it's like 3 feet longer and it's like a entirely different feel, like how far out the back of the car is, right? Because for us it's like from sitting in the driver's seat to how far is the far corner, right? Mm-hmm. And so that car is it's got back seats, then it's got a trunk, then it's got a swan deck rear wing on it, so it's like just like 2 feet, 2 feet, 2 feet, like versus my Z where it's just like the corner's like right there. You can almost like reach out and touch it.
Yeah.
And so it's like, it just feels like you're just swinging this boat around. And so, like, does it take a minute to get used to, warming yourself up to drive that truck, or is it because you drive them so often it just like snaps right in? Like
I think it is like literally you drive them so often. It's like my last event of last year was like at the beginning of November, last week of October. So I took like that whole time off, and then going into San Diego 1, which was like January 4. Like it's just like riding a bike basically. Like you'll know too. Like there'll be days where you're way more warm than others, and like stuff's just going like way better. I'm sure you know how that goes, but it's like.
But we always laugh because like with FD, so we'll go into a competition weekend, and I know this is all like because of like mentally based, I should say. It's not exactly because of the track. It's not because of the car. But my first lap is at least a top 10, if not one of my top 3 laps of the weekend. Every time. Yeah.
I kind of feel that way too.
Yeah.
Like if we do more than one in a weekend, like always the first one is going to be my best one.
Yeah.
I don't know why that is. But
well, I think it's because, and what I've kind of whittled it down to is because it's you're like, I'm just going to go feel it out. Think
there's no
you
pressure.
literally say that.
There's no pressure.
Yeah,
like,
you'll say that in your head, like I'm going to feel it out. And what that means is you're driving the truck by what you feel.
Yes.
You're reacting to what you feel in 100% capacity versus, okay, I got to do this. I got to be tighter here. I got to make sure to brake there. And like you start overthinking the run.
Once you get up like against a better competitor too, it's like
like oh, he's probably going to do this.
And I think
make sure to that.
With the mental thing, like our sport is like a lot mental, and I don't think a lot of our drivers realize that either. But it's like last weekend, for instance, I had to race a guy in the semifinals of the bracket racing. There was one lane that was better than the other. So we both were doing our first race though, and then like your time from the previous round determines lane choice. So we're basically fighting.
Yeah.
I went first, and like I was just feeling it out, right? Because I hadn't ran it yet that day, and like I was like, if I can just get a decent time, and it was good enough, but it's like right there, it's like I don't need to overdrive. Like it's the mental. You got to be mentally tough, I think, in motorsports. And I love that part of it.
Like any motorsport, yeah.
I do. I love that part of it because I love watching drivers crumble. Too. like other drivers, like they'll win one round. They'll win like one round.
Yeah.
And you'll sit there and then you'll just see how excited they are. And it's like, well, listen, it's not over yet.
No, it's
like
far from.
It is far from over. Like, but I don't know. I always use that to my advantage. I guess like just being calm in the truck, like literally as calm as I can be, and then I think it translates well mentally behind the wheel as well.
Do you do a lot of like mental training?
Oh, really?
For that? Not like nothing like actually. Okay. Do you do any like physical training?
I do like cardio.
Yeah.
A little bit of cardio. Nothing crazy.
I'm sure it's like gotta be exhausting driving that thing. Right?
Yeah. Like by the end of the freestyle, you're pretty worn out.
2 minutes.
2 minutes straight of like just pure chaos. And I mean, like at that point, like I want to drive the truck as hard as I can for 2 minutes. Yeah. Like there's people that play the game and just do this,
bump
do that,
around,
backflip, then one big air, and then big score. It's like, yeah, but what is everybody gonna remember tomorrow? Like.
You want to hear that thing wicked out for 2 minutes straight.
Exactly. I want to be the crazy guy out there.
So inside the cockpit, like, what's the controls look like? Are you guys in a suspended seat, or is it a fixed seat?
It's a fixed seat. Okay. Yeah. So we have risers, so obviously you can put them wherever you want. But just the steering wheel, gas, brake, shifter. It's a 2-speed power glide, so manual shift, no clutch. Rear steer has got just a handle here. It's electric over hydraulic, so it's got a toggle switch. So it's backwards from the way the front of the tires turn, technically. But if you want to turn left, you bump it left. Yeah. If you want to turn right, you bump it right. And then it has a self-centering device on it as well. So, like if you go into a donut, you don't want to sit there and deadhead that pump and those rams for that long, basically. So flick the self-center off to where it doesn't just immediately come back straight. And then you just turn it and let go. That way you're not just holding it the whole time you're doing like a donut or something like that. But
okay.
Other than that, just then the lane selector for the RII, making sure, cause they'll let you know, like, hey, what lane do you want? Or you're going to be in this lane for this race, basically.
Gotcha.
All the switches, fans, ignition, all that kind of stuff. But honestly, they're really simple. Like, and I get lucky with the Gravedigger too, like sitting in the cab. Like you were talking earlier about looking under the hood and stuff. Yeah, like, I don't have to do that, thank goodness. Okay. Like I'm still high enough in the seat, and the hood is just flat enough to where I can just look over the hood. Okay. So.
Yeah, because I've heard like
some trucks are
very
you cannot see out of them. It's like dang, I don't know how you guys drive that. I was like, I'll stay where I'm at.
Yeah. So because I was unsure of that because of how high you guys jump these things. I've seen some some of these clips where like freaking 30 feet in the air.
Ridiculous.
It's insane.
It's insane.
And so I was always curious what the seat was like because like I know like in off-road everybody had a suspension seat for the longest time, and just very recently. Was drivers started to go to a more fixed seat with just a little bit of padding, but it's not like a sprung seat. Yeah. And so because some of the guys are starting to get like really hurt and they were blaming the seat. Yeah. And so like having a fixed seat, just being really harnessed down, relying on the suspension.
Yeah, we have the fixed seat with like the you guys run ratchets on yours too?
No, we do not.
No, so
we just pull them tight ourselves.
Yeah. So I got 2 ratchets for my lap belts, and like I don't stop until I can literally not click one more click out of both of them.
Those are insane.
It's tight in there, but I mean you have to be, otherwise it would kill you. Like literally, it would be so rough.
Yeah, like for those that don't know, a ratchet seat, it's literally so you have your harness 6-point, I'm sure, right? Yep. And so the lap belt, instead of just having like the 2 like straps, so you just like kind of snug down yourself. It's a ratchet.
Yeah, and it's just so nice. Like I could never go back to like the pull method again after it.
Well, you'll never be able to get it as tight.
I know, like ever.
Like first time I ever dealt with a ratchet seat was I was in a sprint car driving Sheldon Holdenchild's. It was his 410 wing car, and I hop in there, and, buckle me up, and I'm like, all right, like getting ready to go. And they're like, hang on, you reach down. I didn't even know it was in there. There's like. And just like, oh my god,
it's literally miserable. Yeah. Like you don't want to put those last clicks in until you're like ready to go.
Yeah,
like
it was brutal. Damn. I never felt anything like it, and then once you start racing, you understand why.
Yeah, if you crash, it helps to be way tight.
Yeah, I crashed once on a loose belt. It was not good.
Sprint car pretty sweet though.
It was insane.
Like I've always wanted to drive a 410 sprint car.
It was like the wildest thing I've ever driven. So it's like just absolutely just way too fast for its own good. And you have to drive it. It's one of those vehicles where it does not work. Like it has a bell curve, right? It does not work at all until you get it like up on the pipe and on the arrow. Mm-hmm. I'm sure you could adjust it, to have better steer and everything with less arrow for like a rookie. But they just threw me in that thing like 10 out of 10, and it was kind of terrifying for the first few laps because like you have to I've never driven something that was so reliant on aero, right? And so it gets so much worse before it gets better again, right? And so like you're at the point where like you're approaching a corner. I'm like, I know how fast I can drive a car through that corner, and like as you speed up, it gets more and more loose, and the front end doesn't work, and it's just like all over the place. And it's like, no, you have to like you get over that hump, and all of a sudden it like hunkers down and like starts just pushing through the corner. Because they're just made to turn left. The faster you go, the more it wants to turn left.
Right.
Like you're basically like steering it out of the corner down the straight, and you just let it go back in. So until you get up onto that, level of aero, like pushing the car down and getting the grip on that right rear, like it's just front wheel does nothing. It's just flopping back and forth.
And the way they like pass each other and stuff too, it's like open wheel racing, like literally death machines.
That's why they go over the fence like every other weekend.
It's sick though.
I know, it is.
It is sweet.
I really want to drive a non-wing. There's a bunch of guys on the NOS team that also drive non-wings, because that's like I would like fall right into that. They say it's like much more dangerous because when you go end over end, the wing guys, they say like the upper wing is like a cushion, right? So if you come on the cage, right, you have this whole wing that you can crush before it gets right to your noggin. Yeah. Versus the non-wing, like you're it's right
just
there.
Literally right there.
Yeah, you're bouncing off the roll cage.
Yeah.
So they're a little more sketchy in that manner, but it's way more tailored for like my type of driving style. I could probably hop in that thing and just get right to it.
I think that they kind of back in more.
Yeah.
The non-wings do, it seems like too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's like how we are. Like you got to throw the car in versus like letting it pull it yourself in. So it's a very different driving style, which would probably cater more towards what I'm used to. And it'd probably be a little easier to like adapt to instead of going straight to a 410 wing. Yeah. It was crazy.
Yeah,
so crazy.
That would be awesome. I'd love to drive a sprint car once.
Yeah, the amount of grip that they have is like incredible.
Yeah.
Like on the dirt. Like it would blow your mind. But I mean, you also have a tire that's, the size of a keg, bigger than that even. It's like it's
massive.
Friggin' steamroller on the right rear. Yeah. And so like I said, the more you are on the pedal, the more the thing is trying to turn. So it's a crazy bell curve to get over, but yeah, super super fun. As far as like what's like the maintenance look like on a monster truck?
It's a lot.
I bet.
So like we just did San Diego last Sunday. We did Saturday and Sunday. Obviously your maintenance overnight is basically just fixing everything from Saturday for Sunday. From basically they probably get 1 week off, the crew guys do, or 1 day off this week by Monday, and then it was just right back into it. So motor oil gets changed, so we tear the corners apart. So our corners are basically the housing, how it works. It's an F106 center, a 620 gear, and then out from that, the axles go into a planetary system, so a 3-to-1 reduction. Yep. That way you can spin all that weight, right? So we'll tear them down to the champagne, which is like basically the end of the housing. Yeah. Just to make sure those gears are good, everything in there, because that's one of our weakest points is the planetary system. Okay. If you land on the throttle just wrong, it locks up pretty regular. So. Checking for cracks. I mean, cracks in the chassis. It happens, just.
And this between every weekend. So for 5 days, that thing's getting basically torn down.
Yeah. And it's not getting. Honestly, they need to be more, but we just don't have time.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, there's not that much time.
Whatever you can do in 5 days between washing the truck, changing the oil, fixing.
So it's just full time. Basically, as much as they get done in 5 days.
Those guys are insane. Like,
how many guys per truck?
2.
Okay.
So 2 trucks per trailer, 2 guys per truck. So 4 guys total on a trailer. And yeah, they make it work. They're superheroes, really. Change that motor in like a couple hours. Transmission in 15 minutes.
Yep.
Crazy.
That is good. That's good. Yeah, like on ours, it's depending on the chassis, right? And so that's like the crazy part with drifting is all the chassis are different. And some of them have, depending on your power plant, having a better advantage on swapping a motor quickly. Or transmissions are all pretty, it's kind of on you if you can't get a transmission done in like less than 20 minutes.
Right.
That's just bad build quality. But we can do a clutch in like 35 minutes because it's like training swap. That's like dump it out, put it back in. To do the clutch, that's like bell housing, clutch off, clutch back on, bell housing, then transmission. So it's like a little bit more effort. And then a motor for us. We've done one in like 3.5 hours, and like that was flying for us because V motor, it's very tight in that chassis. We got double components, we got intercoolers, we got oil coolers, it's dry sump system. Some of the teams are able to because they have a straight 6, less components. Everything is kind of mounted to the engine, and it's a wet sump system. We're unable to do a wet sump on ours based on the configuration. We run the GTR motor and the Z. But with the wet sump system, it's like you lose a motor, it's like all the bad materials in there, right? So you just motor out, new motor in. They can do it under an hour.
That's awesome.
It's pretty wild. Yeah. And so, like, you'll see a guy, like, they'll pop a motor, but win the round, they go back with new motor and keep going.
That's crazy. I don't know what there was a couple years ago where they changed it in, like, insane time. Some of the crew guys with the trucks, but I cannot remember how fast it was, but it was crazy.
Because there's, like, a lot of little things that go into it, right? Because, like, your guys' exhaust, depends on, like, how the exhaust is oriented.
Yeah.
Because you guys just kind of, like, roll down and just dump right next to the motor, right?
Yeah. All so it just pops off really easy.
As I was going to say, you probably just, like, hit a most of it V-band and pop the muffler off and leave the headers on.
Yeah. I think, honestly, the most time-consuming part is getting turbo variables out. Like, realistically, like, spinning the motor over, getting those out. Like, I'm sure there's other things, too.
There's always something.
There's always that
one thing that takes way too long.
It would go, like, really good, and then the one time you want it to go good, it's like...
Yeah. Right at you. Yeah, but, like, we, I know for us, it's like, to get the motor out, you can get it out pretty quick, but then, like, putting it back in, it's like, trying to just align things just right, and, like, it takes a minute sometimes. Mm-hmm. And, like, when it just goes smooth, it's like, it's nice.
Yeah. So we have, on our tour, so it's basically, 6 of the trucks are owned by Monster Jam, and then 6 of them are privateers on a stadium trip for Monster Jam. So our 6 company trucks have a support trailer. So it's got transmissions, motors, 4-link bars, bodies, everything. Well, they have a complete hub-to-hub set in there. So axle housing all the way out to the planetary. So there's a guy last weekend that broke basically where the champagne and the axle housing go together, broke the bolts and ripped the flange off. And they basically hub-to-hub the truck in and sit there.
Oh, that's so cool.
Whole axle housing out, brand new one in, and then made it back.
That is so cool.
Yeah, it was awesome.
I love that. I love stuff like that.
Yeah, it's sweet. Like, just when nobody thinks it's coming back. Yeah. Like, oh, dang. Everybody's like, dang, we're done for the day. And it's like, somebody's like, nope, let's do it. Like,
like we have like a couple different systems in place for our cars too, where it's like, you'll see a guy, like, he'll come in just like broadside the wall, like, tires bouncing down the infield, shocks attached to it, and like he gets like dragged out onto a trailer. And
there's been some scenarios where you see a guy that broadsides the wall, breaks the wheel off, hub, shock, everything's attached to it. It goes tumbling away with the brakes, and he gets dragged up onto the trailer. Just like, oh no, that's terrible. And then, like 30 minutes later, he's back out there. Yeah. And so it's cool to see like hero moment of like getting the car together and coming back out and making it happen. So it's cool that there's like so much support for it. Of course, it's like it's a show as much as it is a competition. Obviously, you guys are selling out full arenas. And that's like something that like we always aspire to do with drifting. It does happen in the world. Like I actually have done like a couple stadium events over the years, and there's one championship right now that's over in Europe that has their final round is in Poland, pave the track, and do the whole competition in a stadium, and there's like 60,000 people there, and
that's
it's just
insane.
It's nuts, right? And so you're like, that's insane. Like that's every weekend.
No, not every weekend. 60,0un's a lot.
Yeah,
that's
okay.
a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it's like that's like when Anaheim's like fully packed, right? It's about that. Yeah. So like you're talking like that type of level, and it's like one event a year. So it's like cool to see drifting hitting that type of level, like in places in the world. We're trying to get that to happen here now. US based.
That's sweet though.
Yeah.
And like the pressure's on when there's that many people there,
right?
Too. Like,
oh yeah.
Everybody can say there's not until you are in that vehicle.
Yeah.
In front of that many people. It's like
100%.
It's time.
So I know you think your mental game is a little stressful on any other weekend.
Yeah.
Having that many eyeballs on you is a lot.
It is.
Yeah. But so outside of this, you guys are gonna head over, check out the trucks, or do you even go over to the track at all today?
I won't go over today. Tomorrow's pretty packed day, so like tomorrow we have our drivers meeting basically for the weekend is at 11 o'clock. Practice at noon. So like I said, one race pass, just shake the truck down, make sure it's ready to go, and maybe do a little media there at the stadium tomorrow with local news stations. But that's usually Friday, and then we're done by 2 o'clock usually, and then that's kind of nice just to have like today and then tomorrow evening to just kind of relax before it gets like busy, because Saturday it's like 4 hours of autographs, then the event, then more autographs, and then do it again on Sunday. So it's nice to have a couple days to just go with your friends, get some dinner, and just chill out a little bit.
Where do you live at?
I'm from Iowa. Born and raised.
Iowa?
Yeah.
Still live there?
Still live there.
Cool.
I just, it's a very small town, but I travel to big cities every weekend, so it's kind of nice to go back somewhere that's not.
Yeah, I was just
a
going
big
to say,
city.
like, so, like, where's, like, one of your favorite places to visit?
I honestly love going to San Diego.
Okay.
I don't know why.
It's great.
It's awesome. Like, every time I go there, it's like
Clean, it's
6
nice.
degrees at my house.
Yeah.
So every time we go there for tours, it's nice. It's
Yeah.
hot.
Well, San Diego's the kickoff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep,
So that has got to be a good change.
It's a good one.
They're
Yeah.
like, take me to California.
Yeah, exactly. Get me out of the cold. But
Do you stay out here or do you go back every time?
sometimes I do. Like we were just talking, I'm going to King of the Hammers here in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
But like this year, I think I'm going home more than I'm staying out.
It's good.
But yeah, it just kind of depends on the year.
Yeah, I get it. It's like, when the events are that close, it's like you kind of find something to do and
Yeah,
fill
yeah.
the gap.
Yeah.
But so from here, it's what King of the Hammers is. What 2 weeks from now?
I think so.
So yeah, you're not racing that weekend.
No, so I just fly in. Like I have Houston and then Houston again. So I'll fly
Oh, okay.
Monday to King of the Hammers and then fly back out to Houston on Thursday.
Oh, okay.
But
So you'll just be out there for
I went a couple years ago and I was like, this is like the coolest event ever.
so rad,
So I'm
yeah.
like, I never want to miss this ever again.
We're going out. We're taking 4 trucks. 2 of them are pretty capable. One's like our street truck, the Forsberg edition. So we have our race truck. We got our long travel pre-runner, and then we'll have our street truck, and then we're debuting a new one out there with Mobile One, Nismo, and Yokohama.
Nice.
So yeah, and that's like the big build that's happening in the shop right now. Yeah, so we have a big build going on right now. That it's a pretty rare vehicle. That I don't want to talk about it just yet because we're going to be debuting it here shortly. So, pretty rare vehicle. We got a motor shipping in from the other side of the world. There hasn't been one of these built in the States yet, although they've been built in other places. And so we're going to bring that out and debut it. And as long as, fingers crossed, our overnight parts that are coming in from like Australia and Dubai, as long as all those little components make it in, we're good. Like I got, a good crew here. It's going to help us get that thing done, and we're hoping to take it out and do some runs. So
Nice.
if you're out there, you got to hit us up.
Yeah, I will for sure. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, you bringing something? Or you just going?
I'm just going.
There you go.
I love it.
You gotta get
I think
yourself somehow. What, you taking
like
a
the
rental
coolest
car?
part about King of the Hammer is like, it's an awesome race and whatever, but it's like walking around Hammertown looking at all the creations.
Oh yeah.
It's like there's so much cool stuff out there. It's like
It is like the biggest off-road event like on the planet. It's what is it like over? It's over 100,000 people. It's like
it's out of control.
absolutely mental, and it's all built out of nothing. There's nothing
Yeah, I
out
know,
there.
it's literally
like
insane.
if you go out there right now, like there's not a soul in sight,
No.
and like not a single stand, not a single tent, and like it would just be all of a sudden this entire city.
Yeah.
So it's really cool to see all that come together, and then we go out, hang out with our partners, like do the kind of like pit walks, the cruises, and we watch the races, and at night go out.
Yeah, Chocolate Thunder, man. It's the best.
We'll be out there, so you'll have to hit us up.
I will.
Yeah, we'll be on the hill at least 2 of the nights.
Yeah, there you go. Perfect.
Very cool, man. Well, thank
Yeah,
you, and
no problem.
good
Thanks for
luck this
having me.
weekend.
Thank you, man.
Yeah. So what was I gonna say? You race. So you race on Saturday and Sunday, right?
Yep.
Cool. Are you did you qualify from San Diego?
Should be number 1.
Yeah,
I think.
there you go.
I think I could be number 2. I don't remember. It's
Okay.
either 1 or 2.
You don't remember?
I don't remember.
Yeah, you do.
I don't
want to say
actually.
number 2.
We'll see.
All right, that's cool. Well, good luck, man.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
You got it.